Welcome to the Chemistry of Lasting Love. This is a five-part series from the Extraordinary Marriage Podcast. Every person needs to be heard, understood, and appreciated. I remember that very first date with my now husband. He took me to the homecoming dance. His parents and he picked me up because he wasn't, quite of age to drive yet. And it was an exciting night. We were going to the homecoming dance. But as we entered the homecoming dance and I heard all the music going, I couldn't wait to dance because my favorite thing really is dancing. Sometimes I say to my husband now, hey, I wish I had something that compared to your Georgia football, how you love it. Well, I love to dance. It's like when you got the music in you, it just doesn't go away. But at this homecoming dance, we went in, there was lots of people. I was looking forward to a great night. And, I did have a good night. But my husband, excuse me, my date at that time, he had to tell me that, I only slow dance. I only slow dance. And I remember those words. I'm thinking, who only slow dances? Everybody can dance. All you do is get up there and wiggle. But he only slow danced. So that evening, I can't remember if we did any fast dancing at all, but pretty much on the way home, I thought, I don't think I like him so much anymore. And why was that? Because one of my big needs was to have fun and adventure. And we're going to be learning about that in one of our weeks of this five-part podcast. We're going to be learning about that. There are 10 needs that everyone needs. And if they're not filled little by little, it's like your cup is emptied. And people don't know this. And so you can't help and you can't fix what you don't know. But no matter who you are or what kind of challenges that you're having, I challenge you to listen to this 5 weeks, The Chemistry of Lasting Love, because you're going to find simplicity, something you've not thought of. I always like to say, you don't know what you don't know until suddenly one day you know it and you're like, what? I never thought about this before. But guess what? I'm going to be sharing that with you through these weeks. But as you would figure, since I called him my husband, we didn't date anymore that year. That was the beginning of our junior year. And we did not date again until the end of our senior year. Yeah, I decided maybe I did like him. And I kind of got past that dancing thing. When we're dating, people look for someone who will meet their needs, just like I did. I wasn't thinking about the other person. Are you ready to rediscover your spouse? I'm Connie Durham from the Extraordinary Marriage Podcast, and I want to teach you how to be a better spouse and understand the one you're with. First thing we're looking at is the unbreakable bond. Did you know that romantic love is something that people really think they can't keep when they get married? I'm telling you, you can. It's not uncommon for a couple that started out feeling that they would love each other forever to come to the conclusion that their marriage was the biggest mistake of their lives. Have you ever been there? Well, in 1950, less than 20% of people, married couples, got divorced. That means 80% of people stayed married. But by 1970, half the people were getting divorced. And I don't know if that means like first year, fifth year, 15th year, 20th year, 25th year. I used to understand, I used to wonder whenever somebody got married and they've been married for 20 years, I would think, why? What went wrong? If it wasn't an affair, what went wrong? But sometimes people stay married for the children or they stay married for religious reasons. They don't believe in divorce. And, at some point, they can only stand the misery so long. So, half of the people in 1970 were getting divorced. For some reason, they weren't meeting each other's needs. They probably just weren't listening to each other. I think you're going to find something today that's going to help you with that. So, in 1990, 44%. So, it came down a little bit. But I'm going to tell you why, because in 2024, 39% of people got divorced. Yes, it went down, but there were more people living together. And so they didn't count in this count if they split up. More people were living together these days. First marriages tend to stay married or get divorces 35 to 50%. Second marriages have a 60 to 70% divorce rate. Why is that? I would think that you would kind of figure it out by that point, once you're going your next time around, or maybe it takes the third time around. But today I'm going to be sharing with you the 10 needs every human being has. And you're going to find that you're high in some areas and some areas don't matter so much, but you still need them a little bit, but they don't matter so much. Everything I'm sharing with you in this podcast is coming from Willard F. Harley Jr. He has a PhD in psychology, and this is from the book called His Needs, Her Needs. In 1960, 73% of kids came from a two-parent family. That's over three quarters. And but today, 40%, can I talk today? 46% of kids have a two-parent family. I mean, that's less than half. And we're going to go back to that thing of more people are living together and more people are having kids and they're not married, um, that kind of thing. All right. 20% of couples continue to grow romantic love, and these couples rarely divorce. 20%. And does that mean 80% of people are not so happy? Because, they stay married, but they're, not so happy. 20% of couples continue to grow romantic love. And I would say that my husband and I definitely fit into that. I've been married over 40 years. I have three grown kids, and I've seen the challenges that they have in marriage. And it opened my eyes to see all the problems that people have that I didn't know. Remember, I said, you don't know what you don't know till suddenly one day you know it. So, why am I here with you? After all three of my kids got married in just 18 months, I realize that a person's disposition, values, and experiences are what makes or breaks a marriage. I'm not getting into all that today, but what do you think of? What's the first thing you think of when you think about your spouse? Is it good? Is it bad? Are you able to share your deepest feelings with your spouse? And do they bring out the best in you? And even more, do you bring out the best in them? Over the next 5 weeks, we'll talk about the 10 basic needs we have as men and women in order to grow romantic love in our marriage. And yes, you can grow romantic love in your marriage if you haven't already been doing that. I think this, besides the behavior styles that I teach on, I think this is um, one of the biggest things that divides couples because they're not paying attention to each other and they're only paying attention to their own needs. I'm going to help you find things in common, identify your needs, and get started growing more romance in your relationship. And I have a bonus for you. You're going to want to make sure that you get it, and I would go ahead and get it and print it now. You'll find it at theextraordinarymarriage.com/needs, NEEDS, needs. Well, a marriage is a relationship of extraordinary care, or I like to say extraordinary care. It's not a decision, it's a feeling. It's meeting intimate emotional needs. And you'll run into so many people who would say, after you've been married for 10 years, oh, it's not a feeling. It's just something, you decided to be married, live together, have kids, work together, make a life, buy a house, go on vacation. But no, I'm telling you, it is a feeling. Some people have more emotional feelings than others. Some people don't show their feelings as much as others. But I'm telling you that romantic love is a feeling. Now, the reasons that romance die is cultural and family differences that you don't figure out and don't get help for, lack of thoughtful communication, money differences, personality conflicts, people who literally rub each other wrong and they didn't realize it until they got married. And let me say, men are like a microwave. You know what I mean? And women are like a crock pot. All right, so each week I'm going to give you a short challenge to keep you on track and make you stop and think about what you've heard. What your spouse needs most from you in order to keep or revive romantic love in your marriage. Every couple needs. Are you ready for this? 15 hours a week to keep their love bank full. Every couple needs 15 hours a week to keep their love bank full. And when you stop to think about it and you are passing in the wind and you're having no time together, there's the demands of the kids, the demands of work, ups and downs. I know I'm an emotional person, and sometimes when everything's going great, I have great energy. And then another day, I just got nothing to give when my husband comes home. But he understands that. But every couple needs 15 hours a week to keep their love bank full. We're going to be talking about that today. And the weeks you don't get it and you are passing in the wind, you will find that you're not relating to each other as much. You're grumbling and you're probably not getting along. 15 hours a week. How do you find that? There's all kind of different ways. But eating together as a family is one of the first things. Having a little conversation. And hey, this brings in the kids too if you have a family. And everybody kind of feels it like one. You get to share what's gone on in your day and encourage one another. Some couples like to cook together. Some like to shop together. My husband doesn't happen to like to shop, but some people do like to do that together. Hey, watching football together or just watching a TV show, sitting down at night beside each other, maybe having a little conversation about that, taking a walk together. I love to do that. Now, I love to walk for exercise, but I find that, if we're camping or we're doing different things and we take a walk, we walk and we talk. And as you'll find out, I do like to talk. Talking about your day, your work, your kids, your hopes, your feelings. And ways that my husband and I do that together are we sing in a chorale together. We have a 2.5 hour rehearsal every Monday night and about 4 or 5 performances throughout the year. We go to church together. Like I said, we sit down and talk after dinner. We watch a little TV. We've recently taken up camping, and we've always loved travel and new experiences. And we used to be a part of a ballroom dance group that we went to every month. And, having dinner with friends and playing cards, doing different things. So there's different things you can do. And what I have found is you have to plan those things. We all learn from each other. My daughter is a great planner, and so I kind of took note from her. She was always so well planned. If you don't plan, your week gets by, your month gets by, and you just don't get the things done that you mean to do. So you have to live life and plan on purpose. Now, I have in the past talked about the love bank. And this kind of goes into the same thing of like, keeping your cup full. But this is not keeping your cup full, but learning to keep each other's cup full. We are either withdrawing from our spouse's love bank or we are depositing. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the little jars. We all know what that looks like. Actually, barely. I can barely remember, when you put money in your change in a jar at the end of the night, because we don't use cash and some of us don't use cash and coins quite as much as we used to. But each person has a love bank. And when you do things for them, you fill their love bank. But when you do things against them, hurtful things, or ignore them and don't listen to them, you empty the love bank. And what I found, even in the past couple of years, I had a person who emptied my love bank. I didn't think it could be done. It wasn't my spouse. But this goes for all our other relationships too. They emptied my love bank with one thing and another and another and another until I was like, man, I'm like done. And that love bank never got refilled. For people who don't say they're sorry, that empties that love bank. If you're a taker and not a giver, it empties that love bank. And I thought about that person, and then I thought about, somebody like your mom. Your mom can tell you something, and if they're filling your love bank, I mean, your mom's done a million things for you, probably. And if they empty a little bit, you know, you've got the energy to regain and get that bank filled back up again and to forgive and forget and to move on. But if somebody empties your bank and they never put anything in, eventually you're like just done. So you want to remember, and you're going to learn this in the next 5 weeks, how to fill your spouse's love bank. Deposits are meeting needs, kind words, sharing responsibilities, a hug, listening. But withdrawals are criticizing, flaring tempers, no time together, slam doors, and gaslighting. Some of my kids at church taught me what gaslighting was. Gaslighting is when you do things and you turn around and you blame the other person. Boy, is that a withdrawal. So the 10 total needs are sexual fulfillment, recreational companionship, physical attractiveness, domestic support, admiration and appreciation. And those five are the typical, may I say typical, top five for men. But it's not always like that because that's why you do the needs quiz so you can figure that out. The top five for women typically is affection. Do I have anybody relating to that? Intimate conversations. Yep, those two are top of one of the tops of mine. Honesty and openness. I find this so important. So I can trust you if you're honest and open with me. Financial support and family commitment. So that's the top five usually. But you know what? If you want to be irresistible, switch sides and make sure you're doing the other. And that's what we're studying today. All 10 needs, and we're going to start with several of those on the next week. All right, so the writer of all this, Willard F. Harley, says, the look of love. Think about that look of love. What is that between you and your spouse? Not only communicates our feelings of love for someone, but also reflects our instinct to do whatever it takes to make that person happy. Next week, we're going to be looking at the needs of the heart, and I have some homework for you, and it is to download the Chemistry of Love free bonus. You will find that in the show notes at the right inside this podcast, and you'll find it on theextraordinarymarriage.com/needs. All right, theextraordinarymarriage.com/needs. Here's what I want you to do. Make 2 copies. And both you and your spouse take that quiz, or maybe you want to listen to all 5 episodes before you do that. But you make 2 copies. You maybe even listen to this together and learn about each thing. And there's instructions inside of there. There's also things that you can do together. Some other things we're going to be studying in the next weeks. But sit down with your spouse and listen each week to stay on track. I'll see you next week.